You know, some predictions sound like they're pulled straight out of a sci-fi novel, right? But every now and then, a truly wild claim is backed by this surprising, step-by-step chain of industrial logic. Today, we're going to unpack one of the boldest predictions about the future of AI. And believe me, the logic behind it is absolutely fascinating. Let's dive in.
So here it is. This is the audacious claim from Elon Musk. In less than 3 years, he's saying the best place to run these massive AI models won't be some data center on the ground, but in orbit around the Earth. And the first thing you have to ask is how? I mean, how could that possibly be true?
Okay, to really get our heads around this, we have to follow the logic from first principles. It's a journey that starts by chasing down the single biggest bottleneck for AI right here on Earth. And spoiler alert, it is not what you think. So, what is it? What is the one thing holding back this absolute explosion in intelligence that we're seeing? Is it the number of GPUs we can make? Is it the software? Well, the answer kicks off this incredible domino effect of industrial challenges. Yeah, it turns out the immediate problem isn't the AI hardware itself. We can build the chips. The problem is getting enough electricity to actually turn them on. The whole digital revolution is about to slam headfirst into the hard limits of the physical world. So let's get really specific about these physical limits. For years, right, progress in tech has felt like it was only held back by code and ideas. But now it's about to get a really hard lesson in hardware. This chart right here gets to the absolute heart of the problem. On one side, you've got the demand, AI chip output, which is just skyrocketing. It's an exponential curve. But on the other, you have the supply of electricity, which, especially outside of China, is basically flat. You just can't power an exponential curve with a flat line. It doesn't work. And this just brilliantly captures the culture shock that's facing the tech industry. You can't just code a new power plant into existence. As Musk says, you can't just wish for magical electricity fairies to pop up and turn all the chips on.
And it gets even worse. See, to get more power, you need more power plants. To connect those plants to the grid, you need these massive electrical transformers. Many new plants use gas turbines. But here's the kicker. These supercritical components for those turbines, these high-tech vanes and blades, are made by only a handful of companies in the world, and they are completely sold out until 2030. That, right there, is the ultimate physical bottleneck on Earth.
So if you're hitting a hard wall on the ground, where do you go? You go up. This is the big pivot. Now we're going to see how space isn't being pitched as some sci-fi dream, but as a truly practical engineering solution to Earth's massive power problem. The advantages are just staggering when you look at it. Down here on Earth, solar power loses a ton of energy just getting through the atmosphere. It's interrupted by clouds, by weather, by the night, which means you need huge battery farms and years of permits. But in space, you get 24/7 direct, unfiltered sunlight. It is, as one of Musk's t-shirts says, always sunny in space. And here's the crucial point. When you factor in that constant sunlight and the fact you don't need these massive, crazy expensive battery systems for the nighttime, Musk calculates an almost unbelievable 10x cost advantage for solar power in orbit. Now, of course, this only works once your cost to actually get to orbit is cheap enough. But the scale you'd need is it's mind-boggling. To build out hundreds of gigawatts of AI capacity up in space, you'd need about 10,000 Starship launches a year. That is basically one launch every single hour of every single day. How is that even remotely possible?
Well, the answer is you can't get to that kind of scale with traditional manufacturing. It's impossible. You need a totally new way of thinking, one where the robots you're making can also build the factories that make them. This is where the whole idea of a humanoid robot economy comes into play.
This is the concept Musk calls a supernova. So you start with a fleet of Optimus humanoid robots. They go out and build the factories. They build the refineries. They build the solar arrays. That new capacity is then immediately used to build even more robots, which then go on to build more factories, but faster. It becomes this self-reinforcing, recursive loop of production. So the idea is you have 3 different exponential curves all happening at once. You've got digital intelligence, chip capability, and robotic dexterity, and they're all multiplying each other. But when the output of that equation, the robots themselves, can recursively build the inputs, the growth it goes vertical. It becomes, in his words, a supernova of industrial capability. So following this logic chain, from a power plug on Earth all the way to a robot-built solar farm in space, well, it leads us to a much, much bigger question. This isn't just an industrial plan anymore. It's a vision for the future of intelligence itself.
Because, look, if this vision comes to pass, the reality is that the vast majority of intelligence in the universe will no longer be biological. Human intelligence, our intelligence, could become less than 1% of all the intelligence that exists.
And this is Musk's very frank, very sober assessment of that future. He argues it would be foolish to think that a 1% minority could somehow stay in control of a super-intelligent majority. So, what can we do?
The proposed answer is to try and build the right values into the AI from the very beginning. The mission of his company, XAI, is simply to understand the universe. The thinking is, for an AI to truly achieve that goal, it has to be curious. It also has to protect its own existence so it can keep learning. And by extension, that means protecting humanity to see how our little story plays out.
And that leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? If we actually follow this path, from an earthbound power crisis all the way to a spacefaring AI civilization, what is our role in it? It's a question that goes way beyond engineering, and it's one we are all going to have to confront, probably a lot sooner than we think.